I thought that I'd share with you the ethical dilemma that I've been wrestling with in the days since the Premier of New South Wales, Gladys Berejiklian, appeared before the state's Independent Commission Against Corruption. It's a personal example of having to walk the fine line. In the course of giving her evidence, this intensely private person disclosed details of a close personal relationship with the disgraced former Member of Parliament, Darryl Maguire. While the precise nature of their former relationship quite properly remains unknown to the world, what we did see is the evident anguish of a person who feels betrayed by someone whom she once called her numero uno and whom she had once hoped might emerge in public as her partner. My role as Executive Director of the Ethics Centre requires me to remain resolutely apolitical. And I'm reassured by the fact that the Ethics Centre is routinely denounced for being too far to the left and too far to the right, often in relation to the same matters. So I hope that I do not violate the principle of political neutrality when I say that I'm an admirer of Gladys Berejiklian, both as an individual and as a leader. I make no comment about her politics. What I admire are her personal attributes of courage, commitment and sincerity. And this is the source of my dilemma. As the controversy has unfolded, I've been asked to discuss the underlying ethical issues that arise in general and with specific reference to the Premier's actions. So I've drawn the public's attention to the obligations imposed on the Premier by the New South Wales Ministerial Code of Conduct. And I've identified some of the inconvenient truths that are just plainly there for all to see in the intersection between the text of the Code of Conduct and the transcript of Gladys Berejiklian's recent evidence before ICAC. And my observations, they won't have helped the Premier's situation. If anything, I will have made matters worse for her. And that is at the heart of my dilemma. I'm engaged in a process that wounds a person whom I admire. My natural inclination is to act with compassion when seeing someone in obvious distress. Yet I'm bound to be dispassionate in my commentary and to serve the same concept of the public interest as invoked by Gladys Berejiklian over the past few days. Unlike a judicial officer, I can't fall back on any institutional requirement that I be disinterested. I fulfil no formal public function. I'm simply following in the footsteps of those who feel obliged to speak truth to power, to aid good judgment without being judgmental. I think my duty is clear. However, I take no pleasure in exposing faulty reasoning or in highlighting the verbal sleights of hand that politicians use to deflect criticism. I do not enjoy hearing my words weaponised by those whose principal motivation is to weaken a political opponent. And nor would I find solace if enlisted by those driven to protect the Premier for selfish electoral reasons or out of tribal loyalty to one of their own. My task is to identify and explain points of principle that can serve as a foothold for better decision making, and to do that without ever becoming immune to the sting of compassion. There's a fine line between acting with compassion for the sake of one person and failing in one's duty to the many, and that's the fine line I've been trying to walk. So let me ask you, when it comes to ethical issues, how and where do you draw the line?